What would you do if you were born into a world that seemed designed for everyone but you? What if your greatest limitation became your greatest gift? This is the story of a man who found light in the deepest darkness, who discovered that our greatest struggles often become our most powerful purposes. This is the story of Nick Vujicic. The 4th of December, 1982, Melbourne, Australia. Boris and Dushka Vujicic welcomed their first child into the world. But what should have been pure joy quickly turned to shock and confusion. Their son Nicholas was born with tetra amelia syndrome, a rare condition that left him without arms or legs. Imagine the questions that flooded their minds. How would their child navigate a world built for people with limbs? How would he write, eat, or even embrace the people he loved? The doctors had no roadmap. There were no guidebooks for this journey. Nick's early years were marked by a darkness that seemed impossible to escape. By age 8, he was contemplating ending his life. He felt like a burden to his family, an object of pity and stares from strangers. At school, he faced relentless bullying. Children can be cruel, and Nick became the target of their fear and misunderstanding. He would lie in bed at night, wondering why God had made him this way. What was the point of his existence? This wasn't just teenage angst. This was a child grappling with the fundamental question of whether life was worth living when it seemed so impossibly difficult. The darkness was real. The pain was overwhelming. And yet, something inside Nick refused to give up completely. Even in his darkest moments, there was a flicker, a small voice that whispered, there might be more to his story. The first ray of light came from an unexpected source. His mother, Dushka Vujicic, made a decision that would change everything. She refused to treat Nick as disabled. Instead of focusing on what he couldn't do, she emphasized what he could do. She taught him to type with his toes, to write by holding a pen between his toes, to swim, and incredibly, to see his condition not as a curse, but as a unique perspective on life. This wasn't toxic positivity. This was a mother helping her son build real skills and genuine confidence. At age 17, Nick's perspective began to shift dramatically. He started to see his struggles not as meaningless suffering, but as preparation for something greater. He realized that his deepest pain had given him something most people never develop, an unshakable empathy for human suffering and an authentic understanding of hope. The turning point came when Nick spoke to a small group at his school. As he shared his story, the bullying, the suicidal thoughts, the daily challenges, something magical happened. Students who had never spoken to him before approached him afterward. They thanked him. They said his words had changed their perspective on their own problems. In that moment, Nick discovered his purpose. His limitations weren't obstacles to overcome. They were his qualifications for the work he was meant to do. The very thing that had caused him the most pain was becoming his greatest gift to the world. Nick didn't just survive his circumstances. He transformed them into a mission. He founded Life Without Limbs, an organization dedicated to sharing hope with people facing their own impossible situations. But this wasn't just about inspiration. Nick built a real life. He learned to surf, to play football, to drive a car. He graduated from university with degrees in accounting and financial planning. He became a best-selling author, writing books that have touched millions of lives. He traveled to over 60 countries, speaking to audiences ranging from small school groups to massive stadium crowds. But perhaps the most beautiful transformation was personal. Nick married Kanaya Miyahara in 2012. Together, they have 4 children. The man who once believed he would never be loved, never be able to provide for a family, created a beautiful home filled with laughter and love. Think about this for a moment. Nick can't hold his children in the traditional sense, but his children don't see limitation when they look at their father. They see love, strength, and possibility. They see a man who shows them daily that obstacles are simply opportunities in disguise. Nick's message isn't that positive thinking magically solves everything. His message is deeper, that our greatest struggles, when we don't let them defeat us, become our most powerful tools for serving others. The wounds that nearly destroyed us can become the source of healing we offer to the world. Nick Vujicic's story teaches us something profound about the nature of light and darkness. The light didn't come despite the darkness, it came through the darkness. His limitations didn't disappear, but they were transformed from sources of shame into sources of strength. Today, when Nick speaks to a teenager contemplating suicide, his words carry weight because he's been there. When he talks to someone struggling with depression, they listen because he understands. When he speaks about hope, it's not theoretical, it's tested, proven, and real. The question Nick's life poses to each of us is this: what if the thing you're most ashamed of, most frustrated by, most challenged by, is actually your greatest qualification for the work you're meant to do in this world? Nick found light after dark not by avoiding his struggles, but by walking through them with courage and purpose. He discovered that our scars can become our credentials, our pain can become our platform, and our greatest limitations can become our most powerful gifts. The darkness you're facing today isn't the end of your story. It might just be the beginning of your greatest chapter. Because sometimes, the most beautiful light comes from those who have learned to shine in the deepest darkness. Nick Vujicic reminds us that we all have the power to choose hope over despair, purpose over self-pity, and service over self-focus. The light is there, waiting to be discovered. Even in your darkest moment, remember, this is not the end of your story. What challenge in your life could become your greatest gift? Your story isn't over. Your light is waiting to shine. If this story moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, subscribe to Light After Dark, and share it with someone who needs a little hope today. Because sometimes, all it takes is one story to light the way.